announcing their intention of killing themselves and their children. They entrusted the letters to the pilot Unabridged, who managed to fly out of the city that same day. Goebbels wrote that Germany would recover from this terrible war, but only if presented with examples to give it fresh heart. We want to give such an example. Magda maintained in her letter to Harald that both her husband and Hitler had urged her to leave Berlin. She had refused. She made no secret of her involvement in the plan to murder Harald's half-sisters and brother. The world after the Führer and National Socialism will not be worth living in, and that is why I have taken the children with me. They are too good for the life that will come after us, and a merciful God will understand my granting them release. We have only one aim: faithfulness to the Führer unto death. Hitler's adjutant, Günther Schwegemann, stated after the war that on the evening of May the 1st, Goebbels called him in to tell him that he and his wife intended to take their own lives. According to Schwegemann's testimony, Goebbels asked that a shot should be fired to make sure he was dead, and that the corpses should be burned. With the preparations made, Goebbels said goodbye to him and gave him a photograph of the Führer that stood on his desk. Schwegemann conveys the importance that Goebbels attached to maintaining the proprieties until the very last minute of his life. Shortly afterward, at about 20-30 hours, the minister and his wife came out of the room. He went calmly to the coat rack, put on his hat and coat, and pulled on his gloves. He offered his wife his arm, and without a word left the bunker by the garden exit. Not long after this, Schwegemann found the couple's motionless bodies, both seemed to have taken poison, in the garden. As agreed, my companion shot Dr. Goebbels once or twice. Neither body showed any signs of movement. The gasoline we had brought with us was then poured over them and ignited. The corpses were enveloped in flames immediately. Nearly all the leading officials of the Nazi regime fled the capital as the Soviet troops advanced, and even the top leadership looked to save their lives as the Third Reich collapsed. Heinrich Himmler, hoping to pass unnoticed among the millions of defeated Wehrmacht soldiers, was caught and identified. After Hitler's death, Martin Bormann joined in an armed attempt to break out through the cordon of the enemy troops around the Reichschancellery and died in the act. Hermann Göring and Albert Speer surrendered to the Allies. Goebbels was the only member of Hitler's innermost circle to hold out in the bunker and ultimately follow him in committing suicide, and he was the only one who dragged his whole family down with him to their deaths. This last step was deliberately staged for its effect on posterity. By merely ending his life along with his wife, he would simply have appeared to be drawing the logical conclusion from a hopeless situation. To his way of thinking, this would have been seen as an admission of the complete failure of his life's project, as a miserable exit at the moment when his political work, the work of the previous 20 years, was about to end in a colossal disaster. What Goebbels wanted, however, was to create with his wife a dramatic grand finale, to leave posterity with an example of the faithfulness unto death his wife had invoked. He could no longer use the resources of conventional propaganda, but the extreme act of wiping out his entire family seemed to him a way of proving to the whole world that to the bitter end he was absolutely committed to Hitler, that he was the only member of Hitler's clique prepared to set aside his most fundamental human obligations in the name of demonstrating his loyalty. He saw in this last step a chance to turn the total failure of his life's course into a life's work that seemed to be utterly consistent and marked by unqualified devotion. At the same time, this last propaganda performance also revealed Goebbels' great psychological dependence on Hitler. With the Führer's suicide, his own life too seemed to have lost all meaning. Indeed, for Goebbels and his wife, the continuing existence of their own family after Hitler's death was unthinkable, since they regarded their family as Hitler's family too. This absolute